Morning. How's it going? You sound like you have a cold.
I always have allergies.
Well, it's kind of a given here. Oh, that's right. I need to send an email right now. Hey. Still need a narrative from you. Okay?
No, I turned that in last night.
It's not in there.
It isn't?
Mm-mm. Did you turn it into the draft? Okay, because I did notice that was in there, that there was something in there. No, did you turn it into peer revision?
Actually, I think I put it in here.
You put it in peer revision? Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, I'll just download it, okay? All right, we're going to talk about grammar today for the first 10 or so minutes, okay? And then we're going to work in the textbooks. I hope you have access to your book in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
Okay. Because that'll make it a lot easier. All right, so here we go. So you should have a document in front of you that looks like, it says subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent agreement. It's a wonderful document. An English teacher would say that. For me, it's very concise, and it puts everything you need to know about subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent agreement right in here with examples. So the other news along with that, since we're going to cover that page and talk about it very quickly, is that the Grammar Quiz 2, which is over SVPA agreement, is not going to be until next Friday. So the only thing you have to do this Friday is going to be this document, the one about the outline of your possible compare and contrast essay. We kind of talked about it, you know, how you fill it in. Okay?
Yeah.
But you have to decide on a topic or it's no good. I'll just throw that out there.
And I just need to remember how to compare and contrast that to, like, franchises.
Just look at, you have the PowerPoint. It tells you what you do. You have to decide if you want to do point by point or alternating. Yeah, I gave you the handouts, and I went over them, remember?
Yes.
So you have to decide, do you want to, if you're going to compare Marvel and DC?
Yes, I remember it's, you do the character, the setting, and I think the...
Conflict.
Conflict, okay.
Okay. Or you could, instead, with yours, you could do the heroes, the villains, and the settings. You could do that, okay?
So we can choose between alternating.
You can choose between block and alternating. You cannot do similarities and differences as a block. It has to be, you have to have 3 criteria to look at them, okay? But you've got that long list. You just can't do fruits and vegetables, okay? Can't do alligators and crocodiles, no. All right. And my suggestion is once you know, I had somebody send me an email saying, can I change my topic? And this was like Saturday night, and I was like, this is not a good time to change your topic when it's due tomorrow. That's not the best time. But remember, I didn't count it late. If it came in Monday, today's the last day I'll take it, so you've got to get them in, okay? All right, so let's talk about subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent agreement. You need a pen or a pencil because I'm going to tell you certain things to put asterisk by something, highlight something, so that you can truly use this to make a really good grade on it, okay? Where's Jose? Jose, can you see? Okay. They just told me that Rodney did not have COVID, but he's been back in class. So it's kind of funny. All right, so what this says is that all parts of a sentence must agree. So generally, if the subject is singular, the verb should be singular. And if a pronoun refers back to the singular subject, it should be singular. And so you have to, there's a lot of stuff that has to match. In a way, subject, verb, and pronoun agreement is the math of grammar, in a sense. okay? Because everything has to match in number. So, here's some examples. But one of the things that we run into is that you have what's called an antecedent, and that is the noun that the pronoun renames. So they have to match in number. Number means singular or plural. So if you ever see a comment where I put, these need to match in, and I just put the number sign, I'm talking about singular and plural, okay? And by the way, I've started grading, I've only graded one paper, and by the way, Christopher, it was yours, okay? I know you're thrilled. Because I didn't even start printing them until yesterday because of the issues with Blackboard on Sunday. But I did get through all of the extra credits, that I got everything I needed to get on it, the deep personal revision, and the peer revision comments. Those have all been added in, okay? So now we're gonna go back to this. So, here's some examples to show you how it works. So you're gonna see, you should have this handout. It says, Bill and Sue drive their cars to school. Bill and Sue is a plural subject. If I were gonna replace them, I would say, they drive their cars to school. That's the pronoun I would use. And if you look at this, one of the quirky things about grammar is that plural present tense nouns don't have S's. They drive. So Bill and Sue is plural because there's more than one. But drive is what you use. So in English grammar, it's evolved that if you have a plural subject, your present tense verb will not have an S. That's how I used to teach in high school because it was easier for kids to remember. Oh, if it's they, you're not going to put an S on the verb. And notice though it says their cars. So in addition to having to have plural subject, plural verb, you have to have the plural pronoun to show possession, and it has to be plural cars. Because if it were only one car, it would say Bill and Sue drive their car, meaning that they only have one car, but that they're a couple and they only have one car, which is a whole different sentence. It means something different then, doesn't it? Now look at singular. John drives. Look at the singular subject and the antecedent. Drives, that's the singular verb, and it has the S on it. His car to school. So I had to make sure John is singular, drives is singular. His is singular masculine, because you have to match the gender, and a singular car. So, and that's what they tell you here. You must agree in person. In other words, it has to be the right case, is what they call it, the number, singular, plural, and gender has to be there. So that is basically what subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent is. So now, what we have here, these are words that if they are used in the sentence, they are always singular. And so your clue is, look at where it says one. Put a big star over here beside this so that you'll look at this. Because on the test, you don't even need worksheets. You just need these 2 pages. All right? If it has one in it, if it's one, anyone, everyone, someone, it's always singular because the word one is in it. Doesn't that make sense? But everyone means more than one person. No, everyone. That one is what defines it. And I can remember thinking as when I was younger, thinking every means more than one. No, one means one, and that's what determines it. The same way with nobody. How many is body? Body is singular. So nobody is one, anybody's one, somebody's one, everybody's one. And then miscellaneous, neither or neither, either, either, each, and add every to that list. So just handwrite in every. Every boy and girl, that's singular. It means the same thing as each boy and girl. Okay? So, and look at what they do. So keep your pencils out because we're talking about this. One of my friends serves as a representative for his dormitory floor. What happens for a lot of students is this causes problems. Underline, circle that prepositional phrase, okay? Circle it, and realize that a lot of times what happens is you'll have the subject of the sentence will have an intervening prepositional phrase, and it makes us think, and we take our subject-verb agreement off of the object of the preposition. So a lot of students write, one of my friends serve as a representative for his dormitory floor. Because we see friends as plural, and we think it's the subject of the sentence, but it's not. It's the object of the preposition. We're on those pages right there, okay? So, it's one serves as a representative for his dormitory floor. They do it with either of the girls. So circle that prepositional phrase. And guess who will probably have this, something exactly like this on the test? Me. Because I made the test. Okay? Either of the girls makes a good choice because of her dependability. See how everything's matching up? Each of the students, there's another prepositional phrase in the third one, has responsibility for his own work. Those prepositional phrases, and I see it in your writing all the time. I see kids get it wrong because they're going off of that plural object of the preposition, which is right next to the verb. And then we have a couple of other examples. Everyone is expected to take his hat off when the flag goes by. And nobody wants to take on cleaning the basement as her spring project, okay? So when you see those pronouns as, and they are the subject of the sentence frequently, they're always singular. All right, so what we have down here is a problem. The problem is that sometimes we struggle when we use one, either, each, everyone, anyone, somebody. We struggle with what do I do? You write, when you refer back to that particular pronoun, what do you use? Do you use her, or do you use him, or his or her, or him or her, or she, whatever, you know. So you have to be careful. And you don't really want to go, everyone should take his or her dog to the vet, because that gets awkward. Pick a gender and stick with it, is my suggestion. Don't go his or her all the time. Just give me his or her or whatever. So, now we're on the second page. So, and that's what they tell here. If it's possible, change everything to make it plural, because then you can use they. It's a little bit easier. Unless you're writing about yourself, and then it's hard to make things plural when you're writing about yourself. Though I looked at an essay, and somebody is writing about I did this and I did that, and then all of a sudden the essay they changed to we. Who is we? You have to tell me who we is. You have to be careful, okay? So, but if singular usage is more appropriate, then you have to stick with that. And it says here, you can vary your usage of the feminine or the masculine pronouns, but all I can tell you is if you're writing and you're telling me a narrative and the gender of the pronoun you're using switches, to me that indicates a second individual. Instead of, if you have a her to begin with and all of a sudden it's a he or his, that creates confusion in the reader. So varying the pronouns is not a good idea, in my mind. So next up, you have what's called collective or group words, and they take a singular verb and singular pronoun if you think about the group acting as a single entity. If you think about the individual members of the group doing something, then it's plural. And that depends on what's going on in the sentence. You can't just look at it and say, oh, that's singular. No, you have to see what it's saying. So they give you some examples, and you can see the list. The team was ready to play its game. Okay, so the football team goes out there. Did they play 11 different games? Why did it be 22 different games at the same time, wouldn't it? If you have the whole team out there. So if it's playing its game, it has to be a singular game. Whether it's 5 on 5 in basketball, 11 on 11, or 9 on 9 in baseball, football, whatever. But if you say the team were all suited up for their pictures, well, if they're all suited up, they're not wearing the same uniform, because that would get tight. So it has to be plural because you're talking about individuals. And look at the next one. My family is behind me with all its support. The whole family supports me in whatever decisions I make. But my family are all scattered, as you can see by their addresses. Because you're talking about they all live in, my kids don't live with me. They live in different houses in town. My sister-in-law lives in another town. Another one lives in this town. So it depends on what's going on in the sentence. And so I'm going to give you a better example. I'm going to talk about jury. A jury is made up of 7 to 9 to 12 people. When they come in, the jury took their seats in the courtroom. They're not all sitting in the same seat, right? So that has to be the plural jury. You have to think of them as being a group of individuals, okay, a plural group. But if I say the jury reached its decision in the case, they only come up with one decision, so it has to be singular then. So it depends on what's being said in the sentence. All right? Okay. So let's talk about, here are some special sentence constructions. And the very first point they make right here is that constructions like prepositional phrases that come between the subject verb and its antecedent do not change the agreement of those sentence elements. That's why I told you to circle those prepositional phrases on that front page. so that you'll be looking out for those on the test, because dadgummit, she's already told us there's gonna be one like that on the test, okay? Now, they give you some other examples, though, that are not like little prepositions. Did y'all ever have to learn that preposition song in middle school or elementary, where you sing all the prepositions? Because there's tons of them in English. There aren't very many prepositions in Spanish. You have prepositions that mean lots of things. You have, you don't have many, but they can represent lots of things. But in English, we have lots, and they're very important. But here, what they do is they go, my father, as well as his two friends, enjoys his walks around the neighborhood. See how this is separated off by commas right here? I didn't mean to get the R's, damn it. Because it's separated off by commas, it's considered non-essential. It's just a long prepositional phrase, so you ignore it. It has no bearing on subject-verb agreement. My father enjoys his walks around the neighborhood. The second one says the chairperson, along with the board members, believes that her position is right. So in addition to prepositional phrases, you also need to be aware of things that are set off by commas that are not essential, okay? This one, put another asterisk by this one, or a little sign, or highlight it. When subjects are joined by either or, neither nor, not only but also. The verb and the pronoun agree with the subject closer to them. The point is this: these are paired conjunctions. If you have an either, you should have an or. If you have an either, you should have an or. If you have a not only, and some of you have seen this in my comments on your paragraphs, if you have a not only, you must have a but also. And all you have to worry about is what comes after the second conjunction of the pair. So I can ignore, look at this example, during a game, not only the coach but also the players show their emotions. I ignore everything up till what comes after but also. And sometimes you might phrase it, but the players also show, sometimes we break up but also. So you'll have to be aware of that. But so I don't have to worry about coach. All I have to do is worry about players. Players show their emotions. So see how those are all plural. Players show their emotions. On the other one, they've switched it around. Not only the players, but also the coach shows his emotions. So you only have to worry about what comes after the second part of the paired conjunction. Okay? That's kind of cool to know. It helps. And so this last one says, when the subjects of a sentence are preceded by each or every, both the verb and the pronoun should be singular. Each college and university has its own special requirements for admission. That's why I told you to add every. Did I tell you to add every on the front page? Neither nor, wait, was it either, neither, either, back over here. Neither, either, each, and put every over there too. Okay? But, so you can see how this covers almost all subject-verb agreement issues. Okay? So when you see SVPA, or if I just put SV, I'm talking subject-verb, because I'm not going to write out subject-verb and then the word agreement, because that's got how many letters in it. It takes too long. So that is it. If you have that, those two sheets, when you take that test, you should get 25 out of 25. There's no reason to get it wrong, because it's all right there. And those are the best 2 pages I've seen on it. And our textbook has this, but it's over the course of a chapter, whereas this is on 2 pages with examples, and that's all you got to have, okay? All right, so now we're going to move to the textbook. If you'll open up your textbook and turn to page, or fly your way to page 317. I actually brought the textbook with me today. Here's what it looks like in hard copy. You don't have to have it. But, when you click on it, it shows you that. And I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to have you answer questions, okay? And we're going to try to do this as a group. Okay.
317?
317, I'll let you get there. One of the things to do when we read, though, is look at the title. Born to be Different, question mark? What's it going to be about? I'm going with the notion most of you just skimmed this. You probably didn't read it when I assigned the chapter. That's why I'm going to read it to you, okay? Well, see, we're going to solve that problem because I'm going to read it. Born to be Different by Camille Lewis. Some years ago when my children were very young, I cut a cartoon out of a magazine and taped it to my refrigerator. It showed a young couple welcoming friends over for Christmas. The host rather proudly announced that instead of dolls, they have given their little daughter her own set of tools. And sure enough, the second panel shows their little girl playing in her room, a wrench in one hand. Hold on. A wrench in one hand and a hammer in the other. But she's making the wrench say, "Would you like to go to the prom, Barbie?" And the hammer answer, "Oh, Ken, I'd love to." Oh my, did that cartoon strike a chord. I grew up with Ms. Magazine and the National Organization of Women, and a firm belief that gender differences were learned, not inborn. Other parents may have believed that pink and baby dolls and kindergarten teaching were for girls, and blue and trucks and engineering were for boys. But by golly, my kids were going to be different. They were going to be raised free of all that harmful gender indoctrination. They were just going to be people. I don't remember exactly when I began to suspect I was wrong. Maybe it was when my 3-year-old son, raised in a no-weapons household, bit his toast into a gun shape and tried to shoot the cat. Maybe it was when his younger brother nearly levitated out of his car seat, joyously crowing, "Backhoe!" Have you ever seen a little boy do that? Oh, they get so excited about trucks. Upon spotting his first piece of earth-moving equipment. Maybe it was when my little daughter first lined up her stuffed animals and began teaching them their ABCs and bandaging their boo-boos. It wasn't that my sons couldn't be sweet and sensitive, or that my daughter wasn't sometimes rowdy and boisterous, but I had to rethink my earlier assumptions, despite my best efforts not to impose gender-specific expectations on them. My boys and my girl were, well, different. Really different. Slowly and hesitantly, medical and psychological researchers have begun confirming my observations. The notion that the differences between the sexes, beyond the obvious anatomical ones, are biologically based is fraught with controversy. Such beliefs can easily be misinterpreted and used as the basis for harmful, oppressive stereotypes. They can be overstated and exaggerated into blanket statements about what men and women can and can't do, about what the genders are good and bad at, and yet the unavoidable fact is that studies are making it ever clearer that, as groups, not individuals, men and women differ in almost every measurable aspect. Learning about those differences helps us understand why men and women are simultaneously so attracted and fascinated, and yet so frequently stymied and frustrated by the opposite sex. To dig into what it really means to be masculine and feminine helps to depersonalize our responses to one another's behavior, to avoid the "my perception and behaviors are normal, yours don't make sense" trap. Our differences are deep-rooted, hardwired, and present from the moment of conception. To begin with, let's look at something as basic as the anatomy of the brain. Typically, men have larger skulls and brains than women, but the sexes score equally well on intelligence tests. This apparent contradiction is explained by the fact that our brains are apportioned differently. Women have about 15% more gray matter than men. Gray matter, made up of nerve cells and the branches that connect them, allows the quick transference of thought from one part of the brain to another. This high concentration of gray matter helps explain women's ability to look at many sides of an argument at once and to do several tasks or hold several conversations or read multiple books simultaneously. That's me, I put in there as the last one. I tend to have 3 or 4 books I read at one time. It's what I do. Men's brains, on the other hand, have a more generous portion of white matter. White matter, which is made up of neurons, actually inhibits the spread of information. It allows men to concentrate very narrowly on a specific task without being distracted by thoughts that might conflict with the job at hand. In addition, men's larger skulls contain more cerebrospinal fluid, which cushions the brain. Scientists theorize that this reflects men's history of engaging in warfare and rough sports, activities which bring with them a high likelihood of having one's head banged about, right? Our brain's very different makeup leads to our very different methods of interacting with the world around us. Simon Baron-Cohen, author of The Essential Difference, Men, Women, and the Extreme Male Brain, has labeled the classic female mental process as empathizing. He defines empathizing as the drive to identify another person's emotions and thoughts and to respond to them with an appropriate emotion. Empathizers are constantly measuring and responding to the surrounding emotional temperature. They are concerned about showing sensitivity to the people around them. This empathetic quality can be observed in virtually all aspects of women's lives, from the choice of typically female-dominated careers, nursing, elementary school teaching, no way, social work, to reading matter popular mainly with women, romantic fiction, articles about relationships, advice columns about how people can get along better, to women's interaction with one another, which typically involves intimate discussion of relationships with friends and family and sympathy for each other's concerns. So powerful is the empathizing mindset that it even affects how the typical female memory works. Ask a woman when a particular event happened, and she often pinpoints in terms of an occurrence that had emotional content. That was the summer my sister broke her leg, or that was around the time Jim and Mary got into such an awful argument. Likewise, she is likely to bring her empathetic mind to bear on geography. She'll remember a particular address not as 11th and Market Street, but being near the restaurant where we went on our anniversary, or around the corner from Liz's old apartment. In contrast, Baron Cohen calls the typical male mindset systemizing, which he defines as the drive to analyze and explore a system to extract underlying rules that govern the behavior of a system. A systemizer is less interested in how people feel than in how things work. Again, the systematic brain influences virtually all aspects of the typical man's life. Male-dominated professions such as engineering, computer programming, auto repair, mathematics rely heavily on systems, formulas, and patterns. That explains why I didn't like geometry, I'll tell you. And very little on the ability to intuit another person's thoughts or emotions. Reading material most popular with men includes science fiction and history, as well as factual how-to magazines on such topics as computers, photography, home repair, and woodworking. When they get together with male friends, men are far less likely to engage in intimate conversation than they are to share an activity, watching or playing sports, working on a car, bowling, golfing, or fishing. Men's conversation is peppered with dates and addresses, illustrating their comfort with systems. Back in 1996, when I was living in Boston, or the best way to the new stadium is to go all the way out Walnut Street to 33rd and then get on the bypass. I'm sitting there looking at how we've transitioned between the points, too. It's kind of interesting. And referred back to what women thought. One final way that men and people differ is in their typical responses to problem solving. Ironically, it may be this very activity intended on both sides to eliminate problems that creates the most conflict between partners of the opposite sex. To a woman, the process of solving a problem is all important. Talking about a problem is a means of deepening the intimacy between her and her partner. The very anatomy of her brain, as well as her accompanying empathetic mindset, makes her want to consider all sides of a question and to explore various possible solutions. To have a partner who is willing to explore a problem with her is deeply satisfying. She interprets that willingness as an expression of the other's love and concern. But men have an almost completely opposite approach when it comes to dealing with a problem. Everything in their mental makeup tells them to focus narrowly on the issue, solve it, and get it out of the way. Are you beginning to see this in people you know and in yourself? Yeah. The ability to fix a problem quickly and efficiently is to them a demonstration of their power and competence. It makes me a man. When a man hears his female partner begin to describe a problem, he stops listening. His strongest impulse is to listen briefly and then tell her what to do about it. From his perspective, he has made a helpful and loving gesture. From hers, he short-circuited a conversation that could have deepened and strengthened their relationship. The challenge that confronts men and women is to put aside ideas of better and worse when it comes to their many differences. Our diverse brain development, our ways of interacting with the world, and our modes of dealing with problems all have their strong points. In some circumstances, a typically female approach may be more effective. In others, a classically masculine mode may have the advantage. Our differences aren't going to disappear. My daughter, now a middle schooler, regularly tells me she loves me, while her teenage brothers express their affection by grabbing me in a headlock. Learning to understand and appreciate one another's gender-specific qualities is the key to more rich and rewarding lives together. Kind of cool, isn't it? It explains a lot, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let's see, Post. How many we're missing a bunch of bodies at Post, or are you all hiding from me? I think you're hiding from me, aren't you? Okay, Post. I want you guys to do the evens on the questions, and Morton and SPC, you're going to do the odd questions. There are 10 questions, okay? Going to give you 10 or so minutes to get them done. And so my suggestion is, why don't you divvy up? So have some people do 1 through 5 and 7, 1 and 3, others do 5 and 7. Some people do 2 and 4, and 6 and 8. And that way you'll get it done quicker, okay? And that way one person can be scrolling through the book while the other kind of jots down what the answers are, okay? So figure out who's going to work with whom. And my book didn't have the answers. I had to actually go back and redo the answers again. I didn't get a book with the answers until about a year and a half ago. They didn't give us teacher's guide. So I went ahead and, I guess you're going to work with Morgan, all right, Dante? Morgan's at the back. She doesn't bite hard.
I mean, it's certain.
Okay. Yeah.
The Wi-Fi password, it was
Uh,
connected, but then
You can just go as guest. No, your password should be your normal login stuff.
yeah, I tried that. But
Did you not get your username in there?
No, I did the username, like the full email.
You should be able to log in as guest. There is a guest login area. But yeah, here, why don't y'all just take my book? It doesn't have the answers in it. And one of you can work on it. Just don't write the answers in my book. Because I have my answers here on my, have y'all noticed my legal pad is not set this way, it's set this way. I like it. And they're not that much more expensive. Says host is doing evens, let me make a note of that. Gonna give you 1 more minute to finish up, okay? Checking my course messages here real quick. Zip, 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 that's good. All right, our time's up. We're gonna go do it no matter what, okay? Yeah, it's not like it's for a grade, but it will help you by analyzing this essay will help you see some subtleties that are done, but it'll help you, the better reader you are, the better writer you can be, okay? So the first one goes to SPC and Morton, and I know we have issues with hearing. I did do something, let me show you what I did, so that I can go hear what's being said. I actually have created a preset so I can come over here, so I'm not just putting up the screen. I'll trip over my backpack when I do it, okay? So I'm right here. So the first question for SPC and Morton is, which of the following statements best represents the thesis of Born to be Different? So, Morton, did you pick? Okay, here we go. Do your mics work at all in Morton? No? Okay, so what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to do the charade business. So if you picked A, this is A, this is B, this is C, and D is nothing. So which letter did you pick? A, B, C, or D? And it has to be somebody who's on camera because I can't see the person with the people off to the side. A, B, C, or D? No idea, Morton? Are they doing anything? How about SPC, since I'm not getting anything from Morton? What did y'all pick? A, B, C, or D? For one. C. Okay, I got C from SPC. Morton, A, B. Okay, we'll come back over here. A, B, C, D. I can't think of any way to, if I knew sign language, it would help, but sign language is too small most of the time. All right, so you guys chose C. And C says, this is the implied thesis statement, is many of the differences in the ways men and women think and behave may be due to their biological makeup. Okay. Huh? You picked A? Okay. All right, so that's very specific. That's what I'm going to say. And biological makeup is maybe too much. Go back and look at A. The author believed that gender differences were learned rather than inborn. Experience with her own children convinced her otherwise. See how that's more broad? That it allows for more interpretation, okay? So it should be A. All right, Post, you've got number 2. Which statement would best serve as a topic sentence for paragraphs 6 and 7? So A, B, C, and then D is nothing. Help me out. Or maybe they were picking D. Okay, what do you think? Oh, it looks like an A there. Okay. A says, because of their different construction, men's and women's brains function differently. So when we go and look at that chapter, or that paragraph, I'm going to scroll back up to it. And it's 6, right? Yeah. Our brains very different makeup leads, no, 6, Patty, not 7. To begin with, let's look at something that's as basic as the anatomy of the brain. Isn't that's exactly what that is. So number 2 should be A. Y'all keep track of that. Okay. All right, so we go down to question 3, which comes back to Martin and SPC. Okay. Another multiple choice. Which statement below would best serve as the topic sentence of paragraph 11? You have men solve problems quickly, men's approach to solving problems, men's gestures of love, and men's approach to problem solving. Which one did you guys choose? B? How about you guys? B? Martin, what did y'all choose? Are you breathing? Somebody move it, Martin, so I know, somebody move it, all right. I know they're there and alive, and it's not a frozen screen. You're not in front of the camera, scooch over more. There you go. That says D, I believe. Yes, you're correct, woo, yay. You might need to use a big, heavy magic marker for that, though, because pen is too small. All right, men's approach to problem solving is the opposite of women's. And if you look at it, it actually says, in contrast, men's is totally opposite, doesn't it? So it does it. Good job, guys. All right, so we go to post for number 4. Paragraph 8 states that empathizing mindset can be observed in virtually all aspects of women's lives. Give me the 3 pieces of evidence that supports that, post, okay? So I can hear.
We got one, and the one that we chose was the occurrence of an event that pinpoints the emotional feelings when she talked about her personal experience with her sister.
With her sister? Can I get my book real quick? I don't think we were in the same. There's nothing about a sister in the story, so that's why I'm confused. You're looking at the evidence about how in paragraph 8. So let me get to 8. In paragraph 8, he gives 3 ways in which 3 means of evidence to show women's empathizing viewpoints. And they begin about, empathizers are constantly measuring, they are concerned about showing sensitivity. This empathetic quality can be observed in virtually all aspects of women's lives, from the choice of typically female-dominated careers. So careers are one of the ways in which women show their empathetic mindset. To reading matter, popular with women, what types of literature they like to read, and to women's interactions with one another, which involves all those intimate discussions. Drives me crazy, okay? So we're a little off on that one, post, okay? All right, coming back to SPC and Morton. Okay, question 5. According to the author, what are 3 major differences between men and women? I'm going to come back over here. Okay. Morton, give me one of the 3 main differences between men and women.
She's writing it out.
You write it big. Oh, wow, awesomely. Let's see. Deep-rooted, hardwired, and present from the moment, up a little, I can't read the bottom of it. Deep-rooted, hardwired, and present from the moment of conception. Now, this is asking, what are the 3 reasons, or the 3 ways in which they're comparing and contrasting the functions of the brain? Okay, all right. What have you got, SPC?
Thought process, balance, or makeup, and function.
What was the first word?
Thought process, aka how they basically go about solving a problem.
Okay, problem solving is one of the ways in which men and women differ. Problem solving. That's one of them. The other would be the brain development. It's when 6 where it talks about the actual anatomy of the brain, where women have more white matter, men have more gray matter, I've got it backwards. Women have more gray matter, men have more white matter. It's actually a physical difference. And the last one is their ways of interacting with the world. Women do it empathetically, men do it differently. They move away from their emotions, okay? All right, question number 6 is back to post. Has the author presented her evidence one side at a time or point by point? So, here we go. I'm going to show you. Here's the clue. Here's one side at a time. Here's point by point. That's the easiest way to do it. What do you think? One side at a time or point by point? Is it alternating or is it block? That's what the question being asked. Are you saying point by point? That's correct. It is alternating. What's different about this essay, though, is instead of, like when you do it, most likely you're only going to have, if you do alternating point by point, you're only going to have 5 paragraphs. Introduction, conclusion, and then you'll have your 3 points, and you will discuss both of them in a single paragraph. The author has enough information that women are given first, and then men are given on that particular facet or feature or characteristic or trait that's being evaluated. because she has more information. This is probably over 1,500 words long. You guys have got 600, so good job on that one, Post. Number 7, as shown by the outline below, the organization of Born to be Different resembles a traditional 131 essay. Okay, it resembles a traditional 131 essay, but it uses more than 5 paragraphs. So it's a breakdown. So the introduction, I'll just help everybody out because we're running out of time. The introduction, paragraphs 1 through 5. That sounds like a lot, but she begins with an anecdote, moves on, she gets some more information, more anecdotes, and then she finally comes up with, guess what I was wrong. Medical stuff has said something differently. Point 1 are paragraphs 6 and 7. Point 2 are 8 and 9. Point 3 is 10 and 11, and the conclusion is 12. The transition. In paragraph 7, you have, on the other hand, the contrasting transition. It's 1 through 5, 6 and 7, 8 and 9, 10 and 11, and 12. That's the organizational breakdown. So you actually have 5 sections in the essay, but it's a 131. So your transitions were, on the other hand, in contrast, and one final way. Those are the transitions. Number 9 should have been B, the idea that is the opposite. The best method describes the introductory paragraph to the essay is B, which is an idea that is the opposite of the one that is introduced. Because she said, this is what how I thought it was. But then she says, but in reality, I'm wrong. And then the last one, with which common method does it end? It is a summary and final thought. So it's a pretty good essay to use as an example. So, you need to figure out what your topic's going to be. Don't send me a message. Tell me what your topic's going to be unless you think it could be a problem. That's the only reason I need a message. You need to turn in the outline filled out on the table by midnight Friday. And, the subject, you don't need to say, the subject will be iPhone 13 Pro and the Samsung Z Fold. You don't have to you can just put what they are. But I do want a thesis statement that gives me the 2 subjects and then the 3 criteria. You can go back and use that one that was about the Honda and the BMW. That's a good one to follow. And
Your conference is scheduled to end in 2 minutes.
So I tried to leave some space. Okay? So have a great weekend. It's hard to say already. Have a great weekend. And I appreciate the heavy printing on that document from Morton. That was awesome. I guess everybody needs a big fat marker so that they can do it. Bye. Let's see. Okay. All right. I'm sorry, you have a question? Okay.
You won't tell them? Yeah, just say it, because the camera's not even facing that way. Just say it, just be like, shut up, and then just... No.
You can put it up on the screen so you can see it. So let's say I'm going to do summer and winter, and I'm going to talk about, there we go. Let me get over here.
Your
Go.
conference is now over. Goodbye.
Summer and winter, that's my subject. I'm going to talk about the holidays, the weather, I'm just picking 3 categories, and clothing. Now I have to decide, do I want to do block? Do I want to go this way or do I want to go this way? I prefer alternating because I think it's easier to show the relationship between how they compare and contrast. So I'm going to go alternating. and I might say before deciding on a favorite holiday, and I'm playing right off of that Honda and the BMW. Favorite holiday, a person should look at the favorite, not holiday, that's the wrong word, I need to write season in there, see what I'm doing? Season. Person should look at the holiday, the weather, and I'm not crazy about this order, I probably would do it differently. Clothing. Clothing. And so now I know as a reader exactly what to do. So the holidays, so I'm gonna sit here, what are so my topic sentence is gonna be, holidays are important in this season, okay? That would be a topic sentence. Holiday, and see, I'm important during a season. So I'm gonna think, what are the holidays here? The holidays in summer are going to be Memorial Day, and I'm fudging a bit because it's actually spring, but for us, it's hot. Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day. Is that kind of almost says the end of it? In winter, the holidays are Halloween. Technically, that's fall, but I can put it in Thanksgiving, Christmas. So aren't I creating a draft right now? So I'm doing it. And, okay, so the weather is, in the summer, it's hot, dry, and we're writing the weather here, hot, dry, it's 90s plus. And in the winter, it's cold, wet, it's like 30s to 40s.